There is a ritual, one that repeats itself year after year, where people gather not to celebrate, but to construct something unsettling. They build figures, large, distorted, unnaturally expressive, with faces that seem to carry emotion far too specific to be accidental. Eyes that feel like they are watching, mouths frozen in expressions that resemble rage or hunger or something in between. And then they bring these figures to life, not literally, but symbolically, through attention, through intention, through belief. They carry them through the streets, surrounded by noise, by movement, by energy that feels almost chaotic, as if something is being released, but not fully understood. And at the end of it all, they burn them completely, reducing something so detailed, so carefully constructed, into nothing but ash, in a matter of minutes. They call it cleansing. They say it removes negativity, that it restores balance, that it protects the world from unseen forces, forces that cannot be explained, but are widely accepted. But if something can truly be removed, if something can truly be destroyed, why does it return? Why does the ritual repeat? Why do they rebuild what they claim to have already eliminated? Unless the thing they are burning was never the real problem. Before anything is built, before materials are gathered, before hands begin their work, there is something else, something quieter, something harder to detect, an accumulation, not of objects, but of experience, moments that were never processed, emotions that were never expressed, thoughts that were never allowed to fully form. They don't disappear, they settle. They layer themselves over time, becoming part of something deeper, something internal. People learn to function with it, to move through life while carrying it. But carrying something is not the same as releasing it, and eventually it becomes heavy, not in a physical sense, but in a way that affects perception, reaction, behavior. So when the time comes, they gather, not just as individuals, but as a collective, each person bringing something unseen, something intangible, into a shared space. And without saying it directly, they agree on something, that what they carry needs a form, because it is easier to face something when it exists outside of you, when it can be observed, defined, separated, even if that separation is only temporary. The construction begins slowly. There is no rush, no urgency, because this process is not just physical, it is psychological. Every decision made during creation comes from somewhere, even if the creator is not fully aware of it. Why that shape? Why that expression? Why those proportions? So exaggerated, so unnatural? The answers are rarely spoken, but they exist, in instinct, in subconscious recognition, because humans have an unusual ability to recreate what they feel, even when they cannot explain it. And what emerges is rarely neutral. It leans toward distortion, toward intensity, toward something that feels off. The Ogoh-Ogoh does not resemble balance. It does not resemble calm. It represents something else entirely, something unstable, something reactive, something that feels like it exists on the edge of control. And that's what makes it effective, because it captures attention, it demands recognition, it forces interaction, and slowly, as more details are added, as the form becomes clearer, something changes, It stops feeling like an object and starts feeling like something that reflects something back. When night arrives, everything shifts. The environment changes first. Light disappears, shadows take over, sound becomes more pronounced, more aggressive, more layered. And then, the Ogoh-Ogoh is introduced, not quietly, not subtly, but with presence. It is elevated above the crowd, carried through the streets as if it holds importance, as if it deserves attention, and it receives it. From everyone, people watch, react, engage, some with excitement, some with intensity, some with something harder to define. Because when something internal is externalized, it changes the dynamic. It creates distance, and distance creates comfort. A sense that what was once yours is no longer attached to you, that it exists independently, that it can be observed without being owned. And this is where the shift happens. Behavior changes, energy builds, boundaries loosen, because the presence of the Ogoh-Ogoh creates permission, permission to express, to release, to react without restraint, without reflection, without consequence. Or at least, that's how it feels in the moment. There is a belief that this entire process is controlled, that it is structured, intentional, purposeful. But control is often misunderstood, because what appears organized on the surface can be unpredictable underneath. As the energy builds, as the movement intensifies, as the environment becomes louder, something else begins to emerge. Something less structured, less contained, more reactive. Because when emotion is amplified, it doesn't become easier to manage. It becomes harder to contain. And in that moment, the idea of control starts to weaken. Because what is being expressed is not filtered. It is not measured. It is not restrained. And that creates a contradiction. The ritual is meant to remove chaos, but it is driven by it. It is meant to eliminate darkness, but it brings it into focus. It is meant to restore balance, but it temporarily disrupts it. And yet, it continues. Because the perception of control is often more comforting than the reality of what is actually happening. Fire is introduced as the final step, the conclusion, the resolution. It carries meaning, symbolism, finality. Because fire transforms, it reduces complexity into simplicity. It removes structure, eliminates detail, erases form. And that creates a powerful illusion that what is being burned is being eliminated, that what is being destroyed is gone. But transformation is not the same as removal. When something burns, it doesn't disappear. It changes state. It becomes something else. Less visible, less defined, but not absent. And this is where the misunderstanding lies. Because what the Ogoh-Ogoh represents does not exist in its physical form. It exists in something deeper, something that cannot be set on fire, something that does not rely on structure to continue existing. So when the flames rise, and the figure collapses, and the crowd watches, there is a sense of closure. But closure does not always mean completion. After the noise comes silence, not gradual, not subtle, but absolute. The contrast is immediate, almost disorienting, because everything that was amplified is suddenly gone. No sound, no movement, no distraction. And in that absence, something becomes noticeable, not externally, but internally. Because without external focus, attention shifts inward, and what was temporarily projected outward begins to return, not aggressively, not suddenly, but quietly, subtly, in thoughts, in awareness, in reflection, because silence removes interference, it removes stimulation, it removes escape. And what remains is whatever was not resolved, whatever was not understood, whatever was not truly released, because expression alone is not the same as resolution. The Ogoh-Ogoh is temporary. It is designed to be, created with the intention of being destroyed. But what it represents follows a different set of rules. It does not depend on form. It does not rely on visibility. It does not require acknowledgement to exist. It persists, quietly, consistently, independently. And that raises a question. If something continues to return, despite being symbolically removed, was it ever truly removed at all? Or was the process never about elimination? Perhaps the purpose was never to destroy the darkness, but to manage it, to contain it, to give it a temporary outlet so that it becomes easier to ignore, easier to distance from, easier to believe that it exists somewhere else, somewhere external, somewhere separate. But separation is not always real. And what remains, after the fire, after the silence, after the ritual ends, is something far less visible, but far more permanent. Because the only thing that was ever truly destroyed was the illusion that the darkness had a physical form.